Summer is here, and right on cue, our Rent Pure team is on a major heater. Following the big hits from last week, our guys crushed yet again, proving why our team is the best in the industry.
BigT led the way, winning over $167K on FanDuel and DraftKings MLB. Dunkel crushed NASCAR with a $100K shipper this weekend. Our Sunday NASCAR team crushes weekly, so subscribe to our YouTube channel today and set your alerts so you don't miss JJ, Keg, and Coop weekly on our free shows. Hoop added to the heater, shipping for $100K on MLB. You can catch Hoop regularly on our daily Swing for the Fences show on YouTube for his rich parents' plays.
Our guys have not been the only ones winning during this heater. Our members benefit from our premium content, including core plays in all major sports. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for?
Once again, our NBA Showdown show led to a member print fest with RPS logos dominating the leaderboards. Just Your Daddy turned $26 into $5K. JRex 777 won 6,600 and T Robber 6 shipped for over $20K. Finally, NFL Best Ball is in full swing over on Underdog, and you can get a deposit match up to $100 by using the promo code RUNPURE.
That is it for this week, guys. Make sure you head on over to our YouTube channel to check out our best ball content, as Simon and Snyder were joined by Josh Larkey this past week to jump into a best ball mania draft. Until next time, keep running pure.
What is going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. Hope you all are having a great Sunday morning. More importantly, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I know there are a lot of them. Get some MLB winners in early and then enjoy the rest of the day with the family. So hope everybody has a great Father's Day. Throw it over to you first, DC. How's your day going? How's your morning going? Yeah, you're kind of a father, right? I don't know.
No.
You said
not a father. We're not
a father.
No Father's Day cards popping up yet for you, DC?
This is no fathers here, right? Among the three of us. But of course, happy Father's Day to all the people that do have kids out there. Thanks for joining us. Maybe you're getting a little break from the kids, making some baseball lineups. And yeah, it's going to be a fun day of baseball as always. Fun Sunday, and happy to talk baseball with you two guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is not the normal Sunday crew. The normal Sunday crew, Holden, JT, Gary, they're celebrating Father's Day, and most of them have kids. I don't know about JT, but I know JT has a dad he is visiting on Father's Day as well. I don't know if either of you two know if JT is a father, and I have to ask him that next time because now I am curious. But
he is a father title.
He is a father.
I can confirm. I'm not his child, but he is a father.
Look at the guy. There's no way that guy doesn't have kids. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. JT's a busy guy in this world. He's got everything. He keeps it hidden. His personal life, not too many people know, but JT is a man. All three of them enjoying a nice Father's Day. None of us here are fathers, so we are here diving in, talking some winners. Mangone, I'll throw it to you. How was Coors Field yesterday? You were at the game. I don't even know what the score was, but were some runs put up? Was it an under? Was it boring? How was the game last night?
I made a game stack. I made some money, so that was good. There were enough home runs hit, right? Machado went yard. Cron went yard. Blackman hit one out too. There was, I think, 4 home runs. They won in the bottom of the 8th. They hit a home run that put them over the top. And then the closer came out, and it was actually cool. When he came out, the lights were flashing on and off, which was pretty cool for his walkout. But Title, I'm gonna tell you something embarrassing. Your boy got a foul ball his way, and I didn't catch it with my hands like a man. It was close. It was not the easiest catch, I'll admit. I had to try and go like this, reach over. Yeah. So it wasn't the easiest ball to get, but I did not catch it. One of my friends ended up scooping it up. I want to get a ruling from you guys. So
Did it hit the hands? It
hit the hand. I know. It was
that's a drop.
I know it was tough. It was a tough scene, and I prided myself on being able to catch. So I played football, so I should have caught it. But my other buddy, he scooped it up with his glove. Right, he brought a glove, and I was like, I'm not bringing a glove, I'm a man. So he gets the ball in his glove, and he's sitting next to two girls, right? Like there's one on the here, there's one next to me. He keeps it for himself. He doesn't give it to one of the ladies. You know what I mean? Like, is that an amateur move right there? I mean, do you really want the ball? And he's wearing a Dodgers jersey at a Padres and Rockies game. Like, you don't want that ball. Like, it was hit from like some bum, like Trent Grisham or something.
Let me interrupt here. I know you're asked title, but for one, it hits your hands. You got to make the catch.
I know.
It is Father's Day, so forget the girls. You got to find a kid somewhere.
That's
around.
Even if it wasn't Father's Day, always find a kid is how I look at it.
Yeah, I know, but especially on Father's Day weekend, you got to give it to a kid, and then you can't wear. Listen, I'm cool with wearing jerseys to sporting events. I know some people like to hate. I'm cool with it, but it's got to be one of the teams playing. You can't just come in with a random different NL West jersey on a Rockies Padres game. That doesn't work. And it sounds like you need some new friends. Where's my invite to this game, man? I was sitting back bored. I would have enjoyed and I would have caught the ball. I would have jumped in front of you and snagged that thing with my bare hands. So yeah, next time I expect a phone call and I can protect you from those foul balls.
Yeah, my apologies. I will say he justified wearing his Dodgers jersey because he said, well, if the Padres lose to the Rockies, it helps put the Dodgers in first place. Like we're sweating in June, game
52 or whatever it is now. I mean,
he's a diehard, right? Those diehards, they live and die with their team, which it's such a different thing for us. And yeah, it was a fun time. It was a good game overall, and I'm sure I'll be back. So should be. Hopefully I can redeem myself because I should have caught it, but it was not the easiest catch. I wish I could have. And someone in the chat said I'd bring my glove. I sacrificed my hand and I actually hurt my bad part of my hand that I keep re-injuring. So I took a hit and I still didn't get the ball out.
Dang, that's even worse.
It was, I can't remember. It was a lefty for the Padres. I believe it could have been like Grisham. It was one of those lefties.
Yeah, Grisham. Cronenworth, one of those two, maybe.
Yeah. I don't think.
Where were you sitting behind home plate?
It wasn't Cronenworth. I was on the third base line, so it was like a lefty that hit one over to us, and it was after like it was probably someone at like the 5, 6, 7 hole. So that's why I think it was Grisham. I couldn't remember at the time though.
I'm gonna pull up the game yesterday. Check the order. I want to know who it was.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I can pull up the order and see, and I can take a decent guess at it. So I'll look it up right now.
But it definitely, if it hits your hands, it is a drop. I do have to say that. And yeah, I mean, keeping the ball for yourself. Simon said he would keep the ball for himself, so you can't hate on that. But you got to find a kid.
Title. Here's the thing. So to give you a small backstory, like one of the chicks that's sitting next to him, they were flirting and stuff. They've been flirting for a couple weeks. Like it was an easy slide move to just get to seal the deal.
That was your chance, man. You catch the fly ball, the foul ball on the fly with your bare hands, hand it to one of the ladies next to you, and man, you're off to the races.
Was it Hosmer or Mazzara? Those two are.
Oh, it could have been Mazzara. Every time he was at bat, I was like, "Here's a strikeout."
Bengal's too busy flirting with the girls to notice.
Yeah. Oh, that is good. I respect you for telling us, though. Anytime you get close, I don't think I've ever, maybe once has a ball been anywhere in my general area. What about you, DC? Have you been able to catch one with the glove with your hands at a ball game?
Oh yeah, I've caught a few foul balls in my day. A lot of I'm a big guy going to batting practice. If you get there early, especially in Coors Field, it's perfect. They've got that wide open left field, and I don't bring my glove normally, but if I'm going like the hour and a half or 2 hours to batting practice, you can catch like 6 or 7 home run balls. And that's fun to me, just to go out there and try to snag those on the fly. I don't care if people are judging a 36-year-old man out there. It's fine. They got plenty of things to judge me for. Catching home run balls is it's the least of my worries. So
I'd be right there next to you, fighting for you over them. That'd be fun. Deep fly balls, that'd be dope.
I've never done that, DC. I'd love to do that. That sounds cool. But
we'll do it sometime this summer, man. Go.
Yeah, I'm down. I've caught them at minor league games, but like it's not the same as like a big league game. There's so many more like people and stuff. So that was my first chance, but I need another shot at it. Hopefully I can get a chance soon.
Well, speaking of Coors, I realized yesterday I was registering for the slate. Obviously, the usual DraftKings, FanDuel. DraftKings only 8 games left off Coors. FanDuel has Coors. So, man, it might be time to unregister on DraftKings. Just go all in on FanDuel because look at Coors again. Monster total sitting at 12.5 between the Padres and the Rockies. So we'll get to that game. We'll cover it again. Just FanDuel only. But hope everybody trickling in has a great Father's Day today. Hit that like button for us, please. Hit that subscribe button. We're going to get you the plays of the day today. We can't leave here on Father's Day not giving any plays of the day away, but we appreciate if you do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We'll dive right into it, though. We'll talk pitching. Again, this 8-game slate. I'll start with you, DC. We're going to go Sandy Alcantara at 10.5 all the way to, we'll say Alex Cobb at 8. Actually, I'll say Ian Anderson down there, 8.3K. Maybe some people have some interest in him. That's 6 pitchers up top. Severino, he was scratched a couple starts ago. Now he gets a tough Toronto team. Chris Bassett against Miami. What are you seeing up here from Alcantara all the way down to Ian Anderson?
It's tough pitching today. 8-game slate, which I kind of expected maybe a little bit, honestly, bigger slate on a Sunday where every team's playing, but obviously some later games. There's no pitcher today that I feel is kind of like a true slam dunk free square option. Even the expensive guys. Alcantara's been awesome all year. Good chance of winning that NL Cy Young award. Goes deep into games every start out. That's that's like his biggest appeal is he just 110 pitches, start in, start out, gives you 7+ innings. I don't know if you guys saw, I think it was his last start or maybe 2 starts ago, pulled with 1 out to go in the game after throwing, throwing 113 pitches, and he's pissed off at himself, right, for not finishing the game. He said it himself, like, I expect to finish every game I start, which is, I don't know, in today's day and age of baseball, it's just like an old school mentality that, well, we say it in an MMA title, that he'll fight for your money, he'll pitch for your money, that's for sure. Yeah. So I have no problem with Alcantara, but he is the most expensive pitcher on the slate, and he gets this Mets team, which is very contact oriented, one of the more lower strikeout teams in the league. He's got to go on the road, right? Tougher to pitch. New York's not a bad place to pitch, but it's still not pitching at home. So that's Alcantara. I think he's fine if you have the money to spend. My number one is Chris Bassett today at 8,900. He's had a couple bad starts, but for the most part been very solid. He's at home. He gets a good matchup against Miami. I think he's very safe. I wouldn't be surprised to see, one of Alcantara or maybe Severino beat him, but I think he's maybe safer than both guys, for sure. Safer, I think, than Severino, and a little bit cheaper as well. So he's my number one. Severino is fine. He got scratched with COVID, but apparently never tested positive, I guess is what I heard, which I don't know why he got scratched. Maybe he had some symptoms or something, but he only missed a couple days. So you got to assume that he, is feeling 100% is my assumption, but it's just tough, right? Going on the road to face Toronto, which is why I'm a little bit lower on Severino. You mentioned, you said cut it off at Ian Anderson, but yep. I will go down to Corey Kluber, one pitcher below him, because that is the other guy that I like in this, we'll call it the 8K and above range. 8,100 for him. He's actually pitched really well. He had that blow up start against a few starts ago. Yeah, against the Angels back on May 10th. So well over a month ago now, where he got -12. But outside of that, he's been pretty solid start in and start out. I do like the matchup for him against Baltimore. We obviously know a right-handed heavy team, and they've got that, deep fence in left field now in Camden Yards. And also, notably, the weather has changed, especially on the East Coast. It's been like 90 plus degrees in most of these parks for the better part of a week. Today finally cooled off a little bit, closer to 70, 75. The wind direction maybe has even switched. It's blowing in from left field at Camden Yards today. So I don't think the home run ball should be a problem for Kluber. So yeah, for me, Bassett and Kluber, the two guys I'm looking at. Alcantara, Severino, certainly in play in this top range. I guess you could make a case for Ian Anderson, but I'm not going to do it myself. And then the pitcher that I would play if I felt confident about the workload is Alex Cobb, who the numbers on the year look pretty brutal for him, the ERA and all that, but he's been, by most metrics, the unluckiest pitcher in baseball. The strikeout rate is high, the walk rate's low, so many like infield singles, stuff like that for Alex Cobb. But he's also had a couple of injuries, now minor ones. I think he missed one start with like a strained groin early on. Then he was scratched from his last start with They said it was a hamstring, and then it was a neck, but he pitched a simulated game, 5 or 6 days ago, supposedly good to go. So he makes me nervous that he's going to pitch like one inning and be like, my neck hurts or my leg hurts and like come out of the game or something. But he does get that Pittsburgh matchup, right? So certainly a good one for a pitcher I believe in. I would be really surprised if he went over 90 pitches. I think you're hoping for 80 to 90 from Alex Cobb if things go well. So he makes me a little bit nervous, but I do believe in the skills, and I do like the matchup for him, maybe better than anybody else. So he is on my list. Playing 20 lineups today, I'll have some exposure to Alex Cobb, but Bassett and Kluber, the guys that I'm mostly locking in my lineups today.
I like it. Yeah, Bassett's definitely going to get some ownership, but I don't think Kluber is going to get ownership at all. It's 8 game slate, so he's going to get some, but I think he will be one of the lower owned pitchers. So I definitely like that call. Hey, before we get to you, man, going over 300 watching, not even 100 likes yet. You are getting the plays of the day, but we're here on Father's Day grinding for you. DC on the free show. You guys don't get to see that very often anymore. Almost always on the premium. So do us a favor, hit that like button, please. Hit that big red subscribe button. We appreciate it. Man, going, I'll say 8K and above since DC touched on Kluber all the way up to Sandy. Talk about your top tier and how you're ranking it.
Yeah, the top, listen, this pitching slate, like when you talk about top end pitchers, like Severino and Bassett, like they're fine, but like typically when I pay these price tags, I want to have some better options. Like Bassett at 8-9, I don't mind it here against Miami. Is their lineup still watered down? Do we have that out yet on them? Yeah, we do. And you got Luis Rojas in the 4-hole, Diaz in the 5-hole, Stallings in the 6. Like this is definitely a nice lineup for Bassett to go up against today. So definitely really like Bassett. It's Sunday too. So keep in mind, we're going to get some different lineups. Maybe you'll see maybe a Vlad Guerrero is randomly out of the lineup for the Blue Jays. That certainly could happen where that could be a boost for Severino. And Severino is definitely in play too. Those are like the 2 guys that I'm looking at the top end range. I want to look at them. I wasn't on Kluber like DC. And I'm trying to think about it a little bit more because there are these pitchers aren't just like head and shoulders above all these other options. Like yesterday's slate, you had Verlander who got absolutely blown up, who you felt like him and Nola were just head and shoulders above everyone else. And it's baseball. Anything can happen. So trying to find a contrarian option is not a bad idea here. You can make the case for like the Alex Cobb, like DC said, or a Corey Kluber. You can make the case just completely punt pitcher if it helps get the bats that you want. It just depends on if you want to spend up for some higher bats or not. I'm curious to get, I don't think you talked about him that much, DC, but what do you think of Sandy Alcantara? I know he's been good. The other thing that's nice about him is they just give him the longest leash in the world. Like it doesn't matter. He's just going 100. So how do you feel about him? Because I'm kind of debating what to do with him as a contrarian option versus Bassett and Severino. Because I think Bassett and Severino are clearly going to gain ownership, are clearly the 2 best pitchers if salary didn't matter and you were just talking about raw points. And I think Alcantara could be an interesting pivot.
Yeah, I talked about him. It's just the matchup for him. I think the Mets have scored the most runs per game of any team in baseball so far. He's got to go on the road, and they've got pretty much their A+ lineup out there for the most part. Just super contact oriented team, and Alcantara. It's like almost like to his credit, he will pitch to contact if that's what the start requires. Like I said, he like his goal is to pitch all 9 innings. So when he's facing a team like this, he'll throw strikes and say, yeah, I'll kind of rely on my defense. And he kind of gets the strikeouts eventually through volume, right? Because he goes like 7, 8, 9 innings. So he only needs the 1 strikeout per inning to ultimately be close to the strikeout leaders on the slate. So I have no problem with Alcantara. It's just a little bit scary to know he's going to give up so much contact. And at that price point, it's like if they string, 2, 3, 4 hits together in any inning, it could be tough, right? He gives up 2, 3 earned runs and all of a sudden he's not one of the top 2 pitchers, which you're kind of paying for, right? You're hoping for when you're paying, but like he'll be good. You know what I mean? I'll be really shocked if he didn't give you 15 plus fantasy points. And I don't think any pitcher on this slate is truly safe. Obviously, like you mentioned, we saw it with Verlander. So I do have some Alcantara, but I do prefer the pitcher on the other side, Bassett. We're going to see that reflected in ownership, right, Title? Where, Bassett is, I think, a listen, it doesn't always turn out that way, and that's why we like to get contrarian sometimes. But clearly, the best point per dollar option if you do.
Look at that lineup. Is that first of all? I was going to ask you, DC. That has to be Edwin Encarnacion's son or something. I see down there, Gerard Encarnacion in the A-hole.
Does he let it? Does he put a parrot on his shoulder too?
Luke Williams. I mean,
Stallings.
Like John Birdie has got speed, but not really a hitter.
That lineup is gross.
And Bassett is going to throw strikes too, right? So he's going to attack this lineup he's going to pound the strike zone. And is this team going to do damage against that in a pitcher's park? Probably not, honestly. So Bassett seems really safe. We'll see how it out turns out, but it's hard for me to get away from it. I just kind of want to maybe try to get different elsewhere and take those points from Bassett.
Well, do you guys have any interest in, I know you mentioned him quick, DC, Ian Anderson, cause Bill Miller is behind the plate, right? And that's like a small bump. I'm not trying to overvalue it, but it could be something that helps get the difference, between some of these pitchers. Like if you're debating on 1v1s, Ian Anderson or Kluber or Dane Dunning, that is a ranger. Those three guys are completely viable here on this slate. My rankings, I think, would be Dunning 1, and then Kluber and Anderson's close, but I don't know. I'm kind of leaning with trying to go with where DC is, because Baltimore's not that. Baltimore can hit the ball, but I feel like it's more against lefties, right? Righty, a righty pitcher, especially in that ballpark like Kluber. I think he can get the job done and be safe enough where he doesn't kill you. He might not win you the slate with 30, but I don't think you need that on this slate, if that makes sense.
Are we sure? I feel like it's been 3 times where Bill Miller is supposed to be behind the dish, and then you see him at first base or at third base or something. Are we sure? I see that he's projected to be behind the dish, but does anyone else notice that where he is? And it's so annoying. Obviously, I don't weight umpires as much as some other people do. I like to hear. It's not a part of my process right away where I look at it. Umpires are so bad nowadays where it does matter, but I know DC said no and Ian Anderson. If you don't like a pitcher, I don't think an ump can sway you on someone. But it's tilting if the ump Bill Miller pushes you on someone. You see the game and he's at first base and he's diving behind the dish. So I don't even know if he is for sure, but I see that.
Umpire side, I don't really like the pitchers here. The Braves are my favorite stack. It looks like the weather is kind of turning in Chicago. The last it was the Padres, right? And the Cubs teed off there in the Monday through Wednesday part of the week series. But then these last couple of days, the winds, it's cooled down and the wind's been blowing in. I think it looks like it's going to be switching. It's kind of starting down throughout the day, warmer weather moving back into Chicago, which typically comes with winds going back out, into left center field or center field. So, I'm a little bit worried about that for both these pitchers. Both these guys are reliant on changeups, can get crushed by same-handed batters, and these are right-handed heavy lineups facing both Anderson and Hendricks. So I'm definitely more on the bats in this game for sure.
I like it. So Mango, how would you rank your top? What did you have interest in 3, 4 pitchers? Is it Bassett first for you? Severino, Alcantara? Talk about how you'd rank the 8K and above quick before we go down low.
It's Bassett number 1, Severino 2, and then I'm trying to see if there's anyone else that I put over Alcantara from a point per dollar perspective. Maybe DC would put Kluber over him, but I kind of lean Alcantara, I guess, at number 3. But again, I'm probably going to just look at those 2 and then go to some cheaper options here.
All right, I'll go right back to you talking cheaper options then, man. Going 8K and below. I see some people talking about Dane Dunning against Detroit. I saw someone in chat said, please touch on Mike Minor. Brewers have been bad against lefties. I'll talk to you about Minor because I don't think DC will have any interest. And man, outside of that, it's pretty tough to get excited about some of these guys down low. So what do you see 8K and below?
Yeah, so I guess let's talk about Dunning first. Or people are roasting me in chat. I think I'm calling Dunning, whatever his name is. JT Hayes, he knows the parents here at Run Pure Sports. We call him what we want. So we'll call him Dane. So Dane is going against the Tigers, and the Tigers got to give DC and Steve Boynton credit. I was making fun of them in the chat for playing the Tigers yesterday, and they got the job done. Right? It was a good day. Some people followed them, and we had a good day over here at Run Pure Sports. Wasn't as good for me, but hey. That's perfectly fine. Subs definitely crushed it there. maybe people just stay off because they say, oh, the Tigers crushed it yesterday. Maybe you do get some lower ownership than you typically might. Obviously, there's been that narrative going around DC about, oh, the Tigers offense has been just so bad against righties. And you got a righty here. So I think he's definitely in play. I'm looking to play him over a Kluber, over an Alcantara for the value. Definitely looking to get exposure to him. One reason I'm kind of sold on playing Mike Minor, which I get it. It's not the most comfortable play, but Vegas is pretty intelligent, right? Vegas kind of knows what they're doing over there. Look at the strikeout prop number on him. I'm trying to pull it up, and I have too many tabs up, so I think I have an old one up right now.
Minor's 5.5 plus 115 on the over. So
that's what I'm talking about. That's a pretty good number, right? 5.5 for that price tag of 5.8K. On top of that, we're trying to ship a GVP today, right? Like, it's Father's Day. You know what I mean? We're not in the cash streets. I mean, maybe you are, Title, right? But
of course
who wants to double up on Father's Day, right? You want a shipper. Let's be real. So the thing we got to do here is we got to look for a leverage spot. How often do you get Mike Minor, who has a 5.5 strikeout prop at 5.8K, right? And then on top of that, it's going to be against one of the most popular offenses on the slate. And oh yeah, if you look at projections around the industry, he has a decent projection. How often do we get this kind of leverage, right? It's just such a good spot. I've been doing this new thing on the site. It's like my 3 max single entry kind of breakdown of how I would handle it. Instead of doing like a Bassett Severino pairing today, do like a Bassett Minor, and that's going to make you completely different. And then you're leveraging on top of the Brewers and then play a different offense than them, right? I think that's a really good way to get contrarian in like a 3 max contest where you can really just like kind of gain on the field. I like Minor a lot in this spot. Yes. Could it blow up in my face? Of course it could, but it's not about, I'm forgetting the phrase, but it's not about when, it's not about how many times you get it right. It's about when you get it right. Correct. And if you get this right, the Brewers, you're just going to sink all those lineups, and Mike Minor is going to lead you to the top. So it's also a pitching slate where you don't have Verlander and all these top end arms where you can get away with this. So I love this spot for Minor. I will definitely have exposure to him on this slate.
Not about how many times you're right. It's about how much money you make when you are right. Absolutely.
There you go.
Correct. It's too early over here, Title. Okay. Yeah. Give me a little break. It's very,
you can tell me, we the people said it looks like Title just woke up, and he is not wrong. So it is definitely an early one. Obviously the time zones, it's, what is it by you? 8:30 by you guys?
9:30 now.
9:30. So 1 hour. Gotcha. Yeah.
But I've been up since 7:30. So yeah, it's been an early morning.
Yeah, man.
Going up since 7:30 a.m.
He's got his coffee though. What, Starbucks, right?
No Starbucks. I go to a local coffee. I go to a local coffee shop and just right down on the main street and grab a cup of coffee and bring it home.
There you go. Everyone, the premium members know what DC's drinking over there every single day. They had I'm not going to get into it. It was like a 30-minute coffee discussion on one of those premium shows I was listening to with Holden and JSU. But
that's what you're missing if you're not a subscriber, by the way.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Coffee. When you have Holden on that premium show, it'll be a new topic. You do not know what it is for the first 20 minutes of a show. Very entertaining for sure. You never know what you're going to hear. However, we're going to talk pitching, DC. We're going to go AK and below. You got to touch on Dane Dunning. You have to touch on Mike Minor, since those are the two that will probably get the most ownership in this lower range. I know you weren't on Mike Minor at all last time. He got hit around a little bit. Talk about this range and anybody else you'd have interest in.
Well, he was certainly better than the cheap lefty I was on. I think
Zach Thompson
for the Cardinals. So I got that one wrong. I think that was JSU that was on the other side of that. No surprise, JSU was on the correct side against DC on the Minor versus Thompson battle. I'm still not a believer in Mike Minor, honestly. I get it with the K prop. I would personally bet the under on the 5.5 there. Even in that start, I mean, he got hit hard, 5% swinging strike rate, which is typically not going to lead to many strikeouts. I get it with Minor. I mean, you're not going to find a K prop at 5,800 very often. And this pitching slate is tough, right? There's just not that many guys that we really want to play. So I certainly understand it with Mike Minor. I'm just probably not going to end up there much myself. I can make lineups that I like perfectly well, with the Bassett Kluber combination or a Severino or an Alex Cobb. So I'm not there. I understand Mike Minor. And then Dane Dunning, another guy that I'm just not a huge believer in general. He started off really well. He's been pretty good most of the year, to be fair. But I think Detroit maybe starting to turn a little bit of a corner. They called up top prospect Riley Green yesterday. He had a day. Obviously, the Tigers in general, I think they scored the most runs they've scored all season yesterday. And I don't know, maybe something turning for them a little bit. They're still going to be a really bad offense, no question. And I do definitely like Dane Dunning over Minor and Dunning, frankly, over, pretty much anyone else priced below him. I'm just, for the most part, paying up for what I at least perceive as safer options today.
Yeah, I like it. Pay up for pitcher. And so it looks like we're going to need to find some cheap bats when we go game by game, which we always can do. So DC, I'll go to you. Give me your top 3 pitchers in order, how you rank them.
Yeah, Bassett, Kluber, and Alcantara third, but mostly Bassett and Kluber for me. And then mixing in Alcantara, Cobb, and Severino. 20 lineups. Those are the 5 pitchers that I'm using.
I like it, man. Go to you. Top 3 pitchers on the slate.
Currently I'm on my 4 I have listed are Bassett, Severino, Dunning, or Dunning, however you want to call it, and Mike Minor, but I'm looking for a 5th. So maybe we'll find one by the end of the show. Because again, I kind of want like more of like a contrarian option, but hey, Mike Minor might be contrarian enough where I'm good there. And
why can't you get Dane Dunning right? It's clearly Dane Dunning. There's 2 N's right in the middle of the name. I don't understand. Well, it's not.
Here's the problem, DC, right? When you
man, I got to go on the MMA show and try to pronounce these Russian wrestlers' names, and I do better than you pronouncing Dane Dunning. So
here's the problem, DC. When you like first call a guy a name, right? It really sticks, and like you realize you made a mistake with it, and it's just I've done it for so long. I'm in trouble.
You shouldn't have called him out in the first place. His name was very clear when you pronounced it.
I mean, no one. Listen, I dropped a foul ball 2 at the game, DC. Okay, I make mistakes. I'm not perfect. So I guess
you're getting man going all rattled in his head, bringing him back to the bad memories of the drop foul ball. What inning was it, man? Going? Is there a way I can try and find the tape on TV, rewind, and see it?
I can't even remember the inning. All the innings they kind of go together. It was the game was going faster than I thought too. We needed more runs in Coors Field. Next time I'm there, I want the over to hit for sure.
Well, a couple of drinks were flowing, right, man? Going then
no, I wasn't paying those prices for the drinks, and I had to drive. So it was no drinks were flowing there, but it was a fun time, and I'll get my redemption title. Don't worry.
You should have just said yes, because that would have been a little better for a little drop ball. Sober, and you dropped it, man. Going, now I really need to see this video.
Title. I'm an honest man. Okay,
yeah,
you have your word in life.
That
right?
is true.
And, I will give you my honesty. That's why I'm always going to give you that. You're never going to say, hey, man, go and lie to you. I always give you the honest truth.
You did say it was over the shoulder, so maybe it was coming in a little hotter, and it was a tough one.
I'll look for it later, and if I find it, I'll tell you when it was, and we can look it up for sure.
Yes,
I'll run it back on the MLB TV.
Unlike Sweet Travis, who's apparently an honest man, almost everything I say on the show is a lie. So don't believe any of my stories.
Stack against Bassett is what DC is now saying.
Yeah.
All right, that is enough of pitching on this 8-game slate. 404 watching, 160 likes. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us, please. Hit that subscribe button. A lot of people still trickling in. Hope you guys all have a great Father's Day for any fathers out there. Let's go. Let's talk some members never win before we do get game by game, though. Shout out some of our members and coordinators. Just Your Daddy, 5,000 in MLB. Landa, 5,000 in MLB. D. Jones, MB, 7,500 in MLB. Hoop, 100,000 in MLB, Dunkel, 100,000 in NASCAR, then Big T, 167 in MLB. And then I'll add another one that's not on that list, but Big T yesterday, of course, another golf course shipper for Big T, $46,000 or something in the MMA streets for Big T. Just played the grown-ass man squad is what I called it, and he absolutely printed. So shout out to Big T, just on fire. DC, I know you were shaking your head when I said that. I mean, who runs more here? At the golf course, you pull up your phone and what? You just ship 46K?
Was it just the one lineup he had?
Yeah, I think so. I think he won 50, but the one lineup won like the 555. Every six. It was the nuts pretty much with the.
Yeah. Well, I only had a few lineups, but they weren't super great. Didn't nail the picks. You were at the card title. What an amazing MMA card. At least for entertainment wise, I don't know how your lineups turned out. I'm guessing not that great.
Not that great, but it didn't matter.
Yeah. So that happens. But You like that first fight. Did you need that first fight? Was it on the optimal? There were a lot of high scores.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, the Zalidze was on the optimal. You needed that first fight. So I knew
I
was
dead.
dead.
We were texting a little bit, and you were saying, you were pretty much dusted from getting first place after the first fight on a 13-fight card, which is always disappointing, especially when you're at the event. But you can also kind of like, I don't know, almost like let it go a little bit. Like, okay, I can't get first anymore, and just enjoy the violence. What's the view like from the floor seats? Because it seems like it'd be kind of hard to see, but I don't know. I've never
you could literally see I could literally see everything. I mean, if someone tall was in front of you sitting, it would be annoying. There was like a girl that was pretty short, though. You could literally see everything. You could hear everything. Probably the best, as I was saying. I mean, I'm only young, so I'll probably be at lots of UFC events. I don't know if there's going to be one that will top that. I mean, first round knockout after first round knockout. And I was also thinking too, because it was in the Moody Center. That's where they just built the Texas Stadium for basketball. But that atmosphere, because it's a lot smaller, whereas if you go to Jerry's World, Cowboy Stadium, the Toyota Center in Houston, where the NBA and stuff, it's so much bigger. It's like so much smaller. So like you could just hear the atmosphere, the people. It was just a crazy. I mean, Joe Rogan walks in, everyone's going crazy. Dana White's sitting right there. They're literally right there to the left. Donald Cerrone's sitting there walking by. Like, it was literally just as crazy as it gets. I mean, I had a hard time sleeping, woke up still smiling. I'll probably be riding the high for a couple of days. It really was one of the sickest.
What was your favorite knockout or fight of the night?
Oh, the Phil Hawes Deron Wynn fight was just an absolute war. That one, I mean, there were so many good. The Adrian Yanez Tony Kelly fight, because how the crowd was so diverse on that fight. But the Wynn Hawes fight really was just. It's like, how does Deron Wynn stand up? Yeah, I mean, for anyone out there, even if you're not the biggest MMA fan, I recommend getting to a card at least once in your life. It's unlike any other sporting event for sure, because it goes 7-8 hours too, and just a whole different vibe. So I'm still riding the high for sure. It was a blast. But that's enough of that. That's enough MMA. We are going to get game by game. If you do want to be a member and you're not already, to check out the core plays, the cash chart, the playbook, get in the Discord. RPS Heater 25 is the promo code. It gets you 25% off your first payment. All sports, one price. Let's go. Let's talk game by game again. There's 8 on DraftKings. There's 9 on FanDuel with the Coors slate. So we will talk a little Coors action on FanDuel prices when we get to the end. But starting off, first game, Tampa Bay Rays, the Baltimore Orioles, Corey Kluber, and Austin Voth on the mound. I'll go to you first, DC. You obviously like Kluber, so you're not going to go to any Orioles, but talk about any Tampa interest if you have any.
Yeah, you're right. I'm off the Orioles here with a lot of Kluber on my own teams. The Rays side of this, I guess, in theory, should be pretty interesting. It was supposed to be Jordan Lyles who was going to make the start here. He got scratched about an hour ago now, I think, something like that. And we have seen in the past a lot of the times that where teams score like 15 plus runs and, you get a position player pitching at the end of the game, it oftentimes comes when the starting pitcher gets scratched somewhat close to the start of the game, because the team's just not prepared for it, right? They have to throw in some scrub in there, throws off their bullpen plans, and they almost like go into the game with like the mindset of, we lost our starter and then we're just trying to survive it. And then it seems like they're almost like more likely to give up and pitch their worst guys. So the Rays are interesting from that perspective, but it's just, their lineup is just so uninspiring, right? Like who are these guys you really want to play? There's like no power. I mean, who leads this team in home runs? Like Rosarena with like 7 or something. It's just not a team that gets. You're
spending up at pitcher though, so at least some of the bats are cheap. Could you see yourself like a mini stack 3-man or something?
Yeah, I mean, and plus you throw in, it's really hard to go deep to left field and Camden Yards. It's just hard to find the upside here. So I think it would actually probably be a full stack where they're gonna have to string some hits together, and get the rally going, and maybe they could get there from that perspective. But I don't have many Rays in my lineups. The one that I'd be most likely to play, a Rosarena, is 5.8K. I mean, he's competing with Aaron Judge and Ronald Acuna, and I just can't really get there with him. The other guy, catcher, as always, is pretty weak. So Francisco Mejia, who does swing from the left side, or switch hitter, but will swing from the left side for most of this game. And he does have it's still a good park to go deep to right field, which is where he would do his damage. So he's a guy that you can consider, but overall, this isn't a game I'm going much to for offense.
Yeah, makes sense. I don't think Mangone will have too much interest. And I saw 720 Red Dog said, yeah, talk about MLB on the MLB show. Okay. So because he said that, he's going to get me back talking a little MMA before I get to you, Mangone. And I was telling you, DC, because when you're there, like when and someone brought up the Delitse knee and like, could you hear it? How vicious was it? I was telling you too, before or after that fight, it is crazy when you're in person that when they both were walking out, Dawkins and Delitse, I knew Delitse was absolutely just going to murder the guy. Like you knew right away, like, oh shoot, I'm on the wrong side. Of course you can't like open up DraftKings in Texas, place a bet on Delitse, but just like how they walk out when you see a look in some people's eyes, how he was looking at like the commentary team before when he was just pacing around. It's crazy when you can tell like how locked in some of these people are and just how scary. And I knew right away. You're
for sure. You can still bet the fights before it starts during the walkouts. And sometimes you get information.
It's just illegal in Texas, unfortunately. If it was
so I bet when we broke down the Cody Stammen fight, we were thinking, he's just gonna wrestle him and can control it that way. And the announcers, analysts were saying they were like dead sure that he was going to come out and use his hands. And then I was like, all right, I'll take the knockout prop then. If they're this sure about it, sometimes you can, are they bullshitting or do they really, really believe this? And it was clear that they thought that. So I did get to jump on that, which helped salvage my night a little bit. But you can tell sometimes, like you said, you just look like a man possessed. I was watching the same thing and I was like, man,
it's scary.
This might not go well for the other side.
Yeah, you can. It's so cool to think and just like analyze all that stuff. So yeah, 720 Red Dog. When you make comments like that, we're going to talk about whatever we want on this show. We'll give you some MLB for sure, but we're here to have a good time and talk about that. So now 720. Man, going over to you. Orioles, Tampa. Do you have any interest in bats?
Yeah, just to get off topic, because that's what we're doing here. DC, sometimes you want it more than others, right? On the slab, Big T saw it in my eyes, and he still bet against me. He still bet against me every time. It was hurtful. So
you'll never forget him doing that, man.
No, I'm always good. You know why, Title? He was my first phone call that I said, I'm gonna get your money back that I lost you last year when I embarrassed. That was my first call to say, I'm gonna win this for you. And then he backstabbed me. It was very hurtful. So that was the first guy that I was trying to win his money back, and he went the other way a couple times. But And
you took my cheese. That's enough, man. You took my cheese on that. I don't need to keep hearing that.
Fair enough. I did help you win some at the end, but I do want to address Corey Pullen in the chat, because after I said I'm not a liar, he called me a liar for saying there was no Saturday show. I have receipts. I'm good at that, Title. JSU yesterday morning at 8 a.m. He said the Saturday show was canceled. We're starting next week. So that's what I've been told, giving you my word. Next week it should start unless I get a DM from JSU that says otherwise. But let's talk about this game. We don't want to make the chat too upset, but we don't really have to talk much about it. Like, I'm not dying to play these guys. If it was a lefty, I think I'd be more interested in some of these Baltimore bats. You could always play a Cedric Mullins one-off. I wouldn't say it's a bad idea, but I'm not loading up on the Baltimore side. I'm not loading up on the Rays that much. I don't think either. You do get Kevin Kiermaier in that one hole. So like there is some value that you could get there. I wouldn't hate maybe like a slight mini stack of it. And the only reason the Rays could make some sense here is if you're doing like a Bassett Severino pairing, it does seem like you have some decent price tags on these guys. The only one who's really expensive is Randy Arozarena for 5.8K, but the rest of them, you get some decent price tags on these guys where they could be a decent value stack. But I think there's better opportunities on this slate.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going to go right back to you, man, going in this next one. San Francisco Giants, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Alex Cobb and Mitch Keller on the mound. You look at it, and the Giants have one of the highest implied totals on the slate. The winds are blowing out in Pittsburgh. It's obviously not a hitter's park, but the winds look to be blowing out about 10 miles an hour. The Giants can be frustrating with how they pinch hit, but do you have any interest in them? And I assume no Pirates, but if you do, let me know.
Oh, yeah, that's when I looked at and I was like, what am I doing with the Giants today? Like, I just didn't know what I wanted to do, and I was very torn up. Keller is a guy that, like, you can target a bit, and he can have his problems, but this is not a park I typically load up on. So I don't think I'm going to this game unless maybe one of you guys can talk me into it. Like, maybe one-offs here and there. Like, I wouldn't hate a Jock Peterson one-off against a Keller. I think that's perfectly fine, or maybe a mini stack, but I'm just not dying to play guys from this game. Curious to get your guys' thoughts, though. Maybe you can sway me.
DC, can you sway, man, going on a little Giants action today? And then I assume no Pittsburgh since you talked about Cobb.
Yeah, definitely no Pittsburgh. Giants are interesting. They've got a climbing team total up near 5. I think it might close over 5 by the time this game actually starts. And you can go deep to right field in Pittsburgh. It's really left field that it's so spacious. And, against Keller, he's got a long history of getting lit up pretty good. The Giants do have that left-handed power, right? Luis Gonzalez, Yastrzemski, Jock Peterson, Brandon Belt, LaStella, Crawford. All these guys can do damage. The concern with the Giants always is the pinch hit risk. The two guys I think most likely to be pinch hit for here are Luis Gonzalez and Jock Peterson, if you wanted to maybe avoid those. But I think only one available lefty out of the bullpen for Pittsburgh most likely. So, if they rough them up early, they might not use that guy, and you might get full games maybe out of the Giants lefties. So yeah, I have those guys mixed in, but more so kind of as one-offs or little mini stacks. But yeah, I think they could absolutely do some damage here.
Yeah, I like it. Let's get to the next game on the slate, the St. Louis Cardinals and the Boston Red Sox. Andre Palante and Nick Pivetta on the mound. It's cool in Boston. You were talking about DC on the East Coast. I'm seeing like 60 degrees right there in Fenway today. They still have a decent applied total. Red Sox do sit at about 4.9. I'll go to you, DC, in this game. Boston, St. Louis. Are you going to go to Boston with this implied total? Problem is they're pretty expensive, the main bats you want, but if you go to the bottom of the order, they're pretty cheap. Rev Snyder is leading off again. He is also cheap. So any Boston for you?
Yeah, I think our ballpark pal, which kind of rates, home runs, extra base hits, runs, like just the factors based on the wind and the weather. They've got Fenway as like the hardest park to hit home runs in today. Obviously with that 60-degree weather and wind blowing in. So if I was going to go to Boston, and honestly, I'm not really doing it, it would be as the full stack, right? Because they are facing a rookie pitcher. They can kind of like I forget the Rays maybe, where like the matchup is good. It's just going to be hard to do damage by yourself. So you're going to need your teammates. You're going to need to be able to drive them in and get driven in to kind of accumulate enough points probably to get to the top of a GPP. But the matchup's certainly good. And despite a tough hitting environment, they are at home where they typically thrive. And they get a really good matchup against Andre Palante. So it would be the Boston side that I'm more interested in. And looking at this weather and the Cardinals lineup, I'm wondering if Nick Pivetta should be in the player pool discussion. He's been pretty good, but 9,600 is just a high price tag to pay. But almost an entirely right-handed lineup for the Cardinals, and the weather's good pitching wise too. So Pivetta is at least a little bit more interested in him than I thought maybe I would be coming into the slate.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at him and thought of it. I mean, he's been very good. That's why his price tag 9.6K, but I don't target St. Louis too much. They don't strike out that much. And you look at it. Are you going to play him over Bassett 700 cheaper, Severino 700 more, and then Alcantara is 900 more? Like, could you see yourself playing him over any of those guys? You have 20 lineups, so would you mix in a couple? I mean, that's the problem with me, is I just don't know if I could get there.
Yeah, I'm not going to at this point. Yeah, pretty happy with my lineups, so not going to get there, but he does make some sense.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be low owned, so a little tournament pivot maybe. Man, going to you. Any Boston, any St. Louis for you?
Yeah, I definitely have interest in Boston bats. I'll definitely be looking to get them into my lineups. It's nice having that Rev Snyder value at the top, and they have a lot of big bats, and it's not an offense that it's not a slate that the offense is like incredible, right? So I think on these slates, sometimes you just want to go out there and like, you want to grab bats that can hit home runs, right? Like you want to be able to get those guys. Like one of the guys that hits like 2 home runs today, that might be like the difference, like getting you over the top. And then like you may have guys in your lineups that just have like 3 or 6 and it's okay. I just don't think it's going to be a super high scoring day, where I really do think you want to make sure to get in some of these big offenses that have a lot of power and pop. And the Red Sox are one of those. So I want to get exposure to them for sure. I'm looking to chase some home runs today. So I'm definitely looking to get some Boston Red Sox in my lineup, but I'm not dying to play the Cardinals. And I would agree with what DC is saying about Pivetta. My only concern is like, man, like Cardinals offense has been a bit hot. So it's definitely something to think about a little bit for sure. But Boston's up there, but it's not my favorite offense on the day.
I like it. Before we get to the next game, please do us a favor. Hit that like button for us, and that big red subscribe button to the bottom right. Takes 2 seconds. Thumbs up. Big red subscribe button. Everybody is happy. We appreciate it. We will gift you the plays of the day for sure. Next game, Mangone, you said you want to target some home runs, looking for some big upside. New York Yankees, Toronto Blue Jays, two of the better offenses in the league. Luis Severino and Kikuchi are on the mound, though. So, man, Severino's tough to pick on. Toronto has a good offense. They're going to get him very low owned if you want to go that route, man, going. But talk about the Yankees. On the road, guaranteed the 9th inning at bat. We know Kikuchi, range of outcomes. He can either absolutely go off. He can absolutely get blown up. There really is no in between with him. So how are you approaching this game?
Yes, this is the guy I want to target. If there's I think this is the number one offense for me today. I'm looking to get some Aaron Judge on my teams. I think he hits one out. DJ LeMahieu, another righty that can definitely get the job done. You got Josh Donaldson. It's a little revenge game back in Toronto, his old place. I know it's been a little while, but you always got to love a little revenge. Stanton, Torres. They got them all. They got all the righties today. So I am interested in this Yankee stack. I'll be getting exposure to him because Kikuchi has a ton of struggles against righties for sure. He gets hit hard by them, gives up fly balls. It all matches up. The only thing I'm looking for is the roof open, right? Because if that roof is open, then man, we're really a full go with this one. So Yankee stack is my favorite stack on the slate, looking to get a lot of exposure to it. And if you do a Yankee stack today, don't leave off Aaron Judge, right? Don't leave off these power bats. You want to get exposure to them. Very important. And the pitching, I don't need to load up on Bassett, Severino combos. I'm sure you can make Yankee stack works, but I think I'm going to go Bassett and some cheaper pitchers. That way I can get in these big bats. That way I can load up on these Yankees and get my home runs because I do think Kikuchi has a ton of problems with the Yankees today.
I like it. DC, going to you. We had Alex in chat earlier, said DC definitely in on that Donaldson revenge game with the platoon advantage. Is Alex right? Do you have some interest in Donaldson and the Yankees? And then any Blue Jays as a contrarian stack and just betting on talent at low ownership or not today?
I don't have any Blue Jays, but I certainly wouldn't necessarily talk anyone off of doing it. They just got so much talent, power in that lineup that, yeah, and, Luis Severino did get scratched from his last start. You just never know for sure. So I don't have a problem with the Blue Jays, but not many for me. But yeah, the Yankees, I think, are a great way to go. Obviously, tremendous power. I do prefer the top half of that lineup, 1 through 5, in comparison to the rest of it. Actually, I don't think you can even play 1 through 5 on DraftKings because they're Torres, Donaldson, LeMahieu all competing for that second, third base spot. So you might have to go somewhere else for your fifth guy if you want to do that. But anyway, Kikuchi hasn't been good. Walks guys, which is a huge problem against New York. I think they have the highest walk rate in baseball. And also a ton of power, obviously, at the top of that lineup, which is also Kikuchi's kind of bugaboo, where he gives up a lot of home runs to right-handed bats. So looks like a pretty good matchup to me for the Yankees. Obviously, Aaron Judge, as he often is probably the top bat on this slate. So, yeah, get yourself some Yankees if you can.
I like it. Man, going. Gary said the roof is open as well. So it sounds like you like it a little more.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm definitely full going Yankees. I'm going to be loading up on them for sure. Just got to find the right way to mix them in. And one thing worth mentioning, if you look, we haven't got at the game. I think I'm looking to maybe fade the Brewers stack a little bit today. And if you are Renfroe's going to have ownership, right? That's an outfielder. So if you load up,
all right, we'll just go right there. I'll cut you off. We'll go right there. Brewers, Reds, Hauser and Mike Minor on the mound. The Brewers, like you said, they have they do have the highest implied total on DraftKings. Talk about this game because you do have some interest in Minor.
Yeah. So I try to think about some of the ownerships by positions with the most expensive stack, not the most expensive, the highest owned stack, and how you can leverage that situation. Now, outfield, it's a little tougher. Typically when it's positions like Willy Adames, right? He's going to come in at probably 30% owned or so. So for instance, I think that's a great spot to get different, especially if you are doing a Brewer stack. For one, I don't think I'm playing Brewer stacks today, but if you are going to play a Brewer stack, one way to just instantly make it unique is fading a guy like Willy Adames within the stack. Of course, it can be scary at times to fade the guy in the 2-hole there, but that's a way to just make it slightly different. Instead, I'll probably play a Gleyber Torres who's going to come in at a lot lower owned to a Willy Adames, right? I think that's a great way to go with it. There's a Luis Urias. He's another one. You can plug him in at second base, or you can plug in a DJ LeMahieu. Give me DJ LeMahieu. Give me a Gleyber Torres. Actually, he's only second base eligible on DK. So that's the guy you can put instead of Urias. So finding ways to be different off of that Milwaukee stack where you could still play the 3-man stack if you'd like. Those are things to definitely think about for sure when building out your lineups. Adrian Hauser is not a guy I'm dying to target, but would I be surprised if the Reds had a big game in Cincinnati? Yes, this Reds offense has not been as great this year, but it is a good ballpark on a slate where there's not a lot of offense that we're just in love with. They're all just totals that are, slightly above 5 or under 5, where I do think the Reds is a contrarian stack. If you're doing a double spend up per pitcher, is not the worst idea. I thought it was better yesterday because you wanted to kind of jam in Verlander a bit and some of those other top arms. So Reds are not like high on my list, but I wouldn't talk you out of it as like a mini stack if you need some value throughout your lineups. But I get it. If you like the Brewers, I'm just going to say, find a way to make it different. Like, don't just jam in like the 5 highest owned guys within the lineup. There's tons of ways to make that stack different. There's tons of good guys in the bottom of the order that you can load up on. So just think about that. For me, I'm not currently stacking up the Brewers. And if I do play any Brewers, it's likely a mini stack, and I'm going to look for contrarian options. Or maybe if I do play the chalkier options, it's mixed in with a 5-man that's pretty contrarian already.
I agree with you 100%. And I look at it, my favorite bat in this Brewers lineup is hitting in that A-hole right there. Tyrone Taylor, my boy, only 3K, and he's going to be low owned. So he is definitely my favorite bat. And how you can stack that, you see Carantini in the 7-hole at catcher, see Mark down there in the 2-hole, second, or in the 9-hole at second base. Keston Hiura first and second base eligible. So if you stack that bottom of the order, you can fill up a lot of positions that aren't just outfield, which is always nice.
Yeah,
DC,
I agree with both you guys on the Brewers. I think you can get contrarian there. I don't really see a bad play on the Brewers once you take pricing into account, right? Of course, maybe you want a Renfroe and Adames at the top of the lineup. Those guys are good plays. So is Luis Urias, but they're a little more expensive. The bottom of the lineup's all super cheap. They've all got power for the most part. Even like a Keston here at 2,200, he can get a hold of one against a bad lefty like Mike Minor. So yeah, I think the Brewers. I'm definitely on the Brewers side of the Minor discussion. I think that'll be the way most people go anyway. So not reinventing the wheel there, but I do like the Brewers to get to some power here against Minor.
Any Reds for you against Hauser?
Just Joey Votto, who's got really good BVP against Hauser. I prefer lefties against him, and Votto's cooled off a little bit, but I do think he'll get it going here. Obviously, a good place to hit in a Great American Ballpark as well.
I like it. No little Mike Moustakas revenge game for you, Mangone, or DC? Little revenge narrative for you, Mangone? You always love those. He's in the lineup.
I did play some Moustakas yesterday, but Justin Verlander held me back despite it. So I'm not dying to play the Reds today. It's just, I don't know. Hauser's just not one I want to pick on. It does feel like whenever he's in there, like they kind of want to do like more bullpen games, like where they really pick their spots. You're not getting that guy that gets that in there against like the third time around. You're not getting Hauser just in there, just being a gas can and getting lit up completely. So I just don't think it's a spot I'm dying to play Reds here.
Yeah, and I will say, like we mentioned a couple weeks, I mean, it's been really, really warm across the country. This is only 76 in Great American today, but it's 77 in Chicago. Those are the 2 highest temperature games. A lot of games in the 70s, some in the 60s. So weather is not very, very warm, which is why these totals aren't crazy today. But it's a fine weather in Great American in Cincy. Next game on the slate, going to you, DC, the Miami Marlins, the New York Mets. I think it's a pretty easy move on. No bats in this one. They will be contrarian though, but any interest?
No.
Mangone?
Yeah. Which you were on which game?
Sandy Alcantara, Chris Bassett.
The only game with the 2 good pitchers in it.
Oh yeah, no interest. The order I was looking at had Braves Cubs next, and I was like, "There's no way DC's not talking about the Braves. What are you talking about?" So yeah, no interest in that one. Let's get to that Braves game soon.
Well, we got to talk about Texas and Detroit quick first, man. Going Dane Dunning, Drew Hutchinson, and the Rangers are Detroit for you.
No Tigers. Rangers, I think you could talk me into. Maybe DC can clarify this a little better. Drew Hutchinson is going to do he's going to pitch for maybe 1 to 3 innings. He's not going to be out there a lot. And then it turns into a Tigers bullpen game. And I'm typically in agreement. I don't want to target a bullpen game, but a Tigers bullpen game feels a little different. I think Texas is a contrarian option that you don't want to completely ignore. What do you think, DC?
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't actually have much Texas. I do have some Seager, some Cole Calhoun hitting cleanup, but no full stacks here for me. But I don't hate it. Like you mentioned, Drew Hutchinson, not going to pitch deep, not good anyway. And then you got Tigers bullpen coming out. I think this is their 7th at least game in a row. So a tired bullpen and pretty good. It's a tough park to hit in Detroit, but it does change when it gets a little bit warmer and you get some wind blowing out. Now it's only 75 degrees and just, moderate winds blowing out to center field. But it does make a difference there. So I was on the Tigers yesterday. They came through. Not going really back to him here. The one guy I will play, especially if you need the salary relief, is Riley Green hitting fifth, swing from the left side against Dane Dunning. You can go to Torkelson too. I mean, these guys are stone minimum price. So I don't mind kind of just like filling out value spots with players from this game, a one-off, a Seager, a Calhoun, maybe some cheap Tigers, but no full stacks here for me.
Yeah, man, they are free pretty much top to bottom in that lineup. So if you're double spending the Alcantara, Severino and stuff, you might need some of these guys out, fill out your lineups.
Yeah, Title, one thing to call out real quick, like these Rangers aren't cheap, right? Like typically when you pay 5-1 for Semien, 5-4 for Seager, 4-8 for Adolis Garcia, like you want those to be like those really big bats and get the job done and like in a great spot. That's one thing that might hold me back on playing some Rangers today, just because of the price tags on those guys are a little expensive.
Yeah, if you're saying that everyone's going to go to Adames at shortstop, give me that Corey Seager pivot personally. I mean, I'll be fine paying 5 for Corey Seager, guaranteed 9th inning at bats. We got one game. We got 2 games left to talk about: the Braves, Cubs, and then we're going to touch on Coors quick with the FanDuel pricing. Get you stacks, get you the plays of the day, and then get on out of here. Do us a favor though: 470 watching, 212 likes. Hit that like button for us, please. Hit that subscribe. I'm not going to say we need 300 today. It's Father's Day. I'd feel like a cruel Grinch if I left here no plays of the day on Father's Day. But we appreciate if you hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. DC, Braves, Cubs. We've been talking about the Braves a little bit. Man, Gone wants to know what you're doing with them. We don't have that lineup yet, do we?
We do now, yeah.
We do have it now. Cool. I haven't refreshed. So talk about that. It's pretty warm, 77 in Chicago for this slate. How are you approaching the Braves and any Cubs?
Yeah, Braves lineup almost entirely as you would expect, as it almost always is. They don't really change it up too much. The only difference, Orlando Arcia not in the lineup. Phil Gosselin in there hitting 8th. I don't think I would play Gosselin even at 2K. But the rest of the Braves, all 8 of them, I think are fantastic plays. Kyle Hendricks, he still has some good starts, but his bad starts are just terrible. Just gives up a ton of home runs. He's got the worst stuff in baseball objectively, where it's just, an 87 mile per hour fastball and an 84 mile per hour changeup, and it doesn't really work on same-handed batters. And you can't, when he doesn't fool anybody, right? When they guess right on those pitches and he's not locating well, those go a long ways. And the Braves obviously have power up and down their lineup outside of Gosselin. So I am in on the Braves. You can play, obviously, either catcher. Both guys are in there. Darno, Contreras, both guys look like fantastic plays to me. If you're playing multiple lineups, I would mix and match between those 2 guys. I don't really have a strong preference. But yeah, you can go to the bottom of this lineup too if you want to, outside of Gosselin, Harris, Duvall, guys I've been playing a lot, been coming through recently. Matt Olson's been really cold recently, but it's just hard to imagine that's not going to stop at some point. So I'll keep banging my head against the wall with Matt Olson. Obviously, you guys know Acuna, Swanson, Austin Riley. I mean, these guys are pretty awesome plays. Bad bullpen too for the Cubs. We've seen the Cubs have some really bad days where they give up a ton of runs. Not necessarily saying that will happen, but we've seen it. I mean, how many times have the Cubs given up 10 plus runs? I think it's probably more than any team other than maybe like the Rockies, because they have half their games at Coors. So yeah, I love the Braves here. As I mentioned, I think the weather will probably be improving for hitters throughout this game, which I like to see. I think maybe the totals on both sides are a little bit low because perhaps people are looking at like the weather at first pitch, but this game's probably going to be 3+ hours. It could change in the Chicago afternoon. So yeah, very high on the Braves here. And I like the Cubs side of it too. The right-handed power, specifically Morel and Contreras hitting 1-2 in the lineup, but VR is 2,900 hitting cleanup. You've got Happ there. They've got some guys who can do some damage as well. So I do like both sides of this game for offense.
Yeah, I think the Cubs are interesting as a low-owned stack too. One of the best weather on the slate. So I like that. And man, I would never have thought to see Matt Olson would be 4K in this lineup, in this powerhouse lineup at the start of the year. But man, if you've been playing them at 5.5, 5.4, all that, you got to keep riding them. Just expect the talent to prevail. Man, going Braves, Cubs, talk about the bats.
Yeah, DC, I know you talked a little bit about the weather, but I'm asking for more of a breakdown from you because I got other guys at other sites mailing it in. Their breakdown was light winds, wouldn't mention it, except at Chicago. You can scroll through the hourly forecast. I want an hourly forecast from DC. You're out here grinding. You're my weatherman. So is the wind going to shift and go out? What is the word? Because I think this is a big key on the slate. I don't think everyone understands that this wind is like, there's a chance it could switch the other way. And if it's hot and it turns into a wind game, we're getting it at lower ownership, then why wouldn't we want to load up on this game, right, DC?
Yeah, I'm not saying for sure it's going to, but the weather is clearly changing. It's going to be super hot in the Midwest over the next couple days. Obviously, Chicago, in the Midwest, and we're already seeing it a little bit where, I don't know, we see it in Wrigley Fields. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I do think there's a chance that you get to the third, fourth, fifth inning in this game, and all of a sudden it's like in the low 80s, sunny, and 10-mile-per-hour winds out to center field. If that happens, you could be sitting pretty. I should mention Marcell Ozuna, also out of the Braves lineup today, who was my favorite play on the slate. So I got to switch him out of all my lineups. But still, nevertheless, I think bats on both these teams. I think we're going to see home runs in this Cubs Braves game. I really do.
Yeah. My one concern I have with like the Braves is like they're a very righty heavy lineup, and Hendricks issues are normally against lefties. Now, of course, like he's not going to be in the whole game, and the Cubs bullpen's bad. So I think the Braves are good, but one thing I think sometimes like we don't do enough of, we don't just say, hey, I don't know what's going to happen in this game, but I know it's like one of the better games to target. And like this happens with the Rockies a lot. Like sometimes we just say, oh, we're going to 5-man the Padres and not 5-man the Rockies. Right. And like it's easy just to pick the other side and it's more uncomfortable, but I think it's a great idea. Ian Anderson is not someone I'm scared of. He struggles against righties. Who are the righties that you want to target on the Cubs? Well, you want to play Morel, right? You want to play Contreras. You want to play Wisdom. They have some really good right-handed bats. And Ian Anderson is not good. He has walk problems. He can't strike guys out. And what are Morel's and Wisdom's biggest problems? They can strike out a lot. So I really like this spot for these Cubs. I think they're good for a mini stack, but I think they're better for a 5-man stack. So I think people will be very uncomfortable plugging in the 5-man because yes, Morel seems great. Contreras, Wisdom. But once you get there, who do you want your next guy in? You have to put 2 more in. Hap, Yan Gomes. You can't put him in because you're already playing Contreras, right? You got Horner. You have Jason Hayward. Are you dying to play Jason Hayward? I mean, it's just not a great bottom of the order where that 5-man stack feels uncomfortable, but I'm looking to load up on it. I think it's a good idea. And the Cubs are going to be one stack that I look to get exposure to. And I'm going to get exposure to Atlanta as well, but maybe more of the lefties rather than the righties.
I like it. So that is all 8 games on DraftKings. Again, FanDuel has the cooler slates. Let's touch on that game really quick. Man, 88 degrees out by you guys today. Absolutely beautiful day. It looks like winds could be blowing out a little bit. 12.5 total. Senzatella is awful, is on the mound. Blake Snell is on the mound too, who we know can blow up. DC, if this game on FanDuel, you got to have some interest in a little Coors Field action.
I think clearly the 2 best offenses on the slate if you're playing over at FanDuel. We know what to expect from Senzatella. Like you mentioned, 88, 90 degrees in Coors, winds blowing straight out. The wind direction does matter a lot in Coors Field. And Blake Snell has not been that great so far this year. We also know he's just like very prone to blowups. He can strike out 11 or 12 batters when he's on his game, but when he's not, can't throw strikes. We know the ball's going to be flying, and this doesn't really seem like a game when he's going to be mowing them down, right? So if you take the alternative of that, the Rockies side maybe goes a little bit overlooked just because they're facing a big name pitcher in Blake Snell. But people are going to see a team total approaching 6 and play some some Rockies, but I do think you'll see them considerably less owned than the Padres side of it. So if you're playing on FanDuel, I think you could do a lot worse than just loading up your entire lineup from this game and hoping for the best.
Everyone knows my thoughts on it. A little Coors Field, you can't get a better spot than this one, man. Anything else you want to add? You can play 1 through 9 on both teams, what I'll say.
Yeah, I should look. The pitchers are Snell and Senzatella. So obviously, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, okay, like you want to load up on probably the Padres. But of course, everyone's thinking that. So like I said before, and it's on FanDuel, so it's a little different, but like 5-3 stacks. If you're playing like the later slate, like go 5 Rockies and 3 Padres. I think it's just like a simple route that you can go. That'll just simply make it different. 4-4 stacks. Like maybe people, they'll put like 4 Padres in and they won't want to put in 4 Rockies, right? So put in 4 Rockies against Blake Snell. Feels uncomfortable, but these righties can definitely get a hold of him, right? CJ Cron can hit any lefty in the league. Connor Joe, he's got a good price tag typically on FanDuel. Haven't seen what it is today, but yesterday it was 3K, so I'm sure it's a good tag. You can definitely make it work. So I think loading up on a full-on game stack of this game will still kind of be different, because I think a lot of people will just say, give me 4 Padres, and they'll go to one of those other stacks, and they'll be uncomfortable playing the Rocky stack because it's against Blake Snell, because the name is someone that people think is great, and it's still in Coors Field. These Rockies can easily bang it out and have a good game. So if you are playing FanDuel, do not sleep on a Rocky stack.
Yeah, then never sleep on Coors. Definitely don't sleep on Coors today. But that is every game on this slate. We have about 500 watching, 230 likes. It'd be nice. It'd make me a little happy if we got a little push to 250. I think that should be pretty easy. That big red subscribe button, if you hit that, we always appreciate it as well. But we're going to go top 3 stacks from both these guys, get you the plays of the day, then we're going to get on out of here. Mango, I'll go to you first. Give me your top 3 stacks on the slate. We're saying, obviously, Coors. We all love Coors, so this is just DraftKings.
Yeah, top 3 stacks are going to be Yankees. Number 1, we'll put them there. I'm going to put Boston number 2. And then I got the Cubs at number 3, actually. I really like them as like a contrarian stack. I think they're going to be very low owned, and their power and pop can get the job done against Anderson. And if you want to check out more of my stacks and the pitchers I'm on, a little strategy, it's over on the site at Run Pure Sports. I got a little 3 max article breakdown, and I went a little more in depth of like why I like the Cubs. I talked about it here, but I do think it's just like a really contrarian option. Talked a little bit more strategy of how to handle some of this Brewers chalk and some of these pitching options. So go check that out over there.
Yes, man, go and just put the new piece of content he's doing. Always does a great job. So check that out on the site. DC, give me your top 3 stacks today.
Yeah, I'm kind of all in on the Braves more or less today. So they are my number 1 by a decent margin. Yankees too. Again, just another power team. And I like the Giants a little bit as kind of a semi-contrarian stack. Those lefty bats against Mitch Keller, I think, have a chance to go deep to right field. So Braves, Yankees, and Giants.
I like it. We're going to get to the plays of the day, but first, I want to say, if you are not a member and you are looking to be a member, we do have a promo code going, RPS Cedar 25, gets you 25% off. And if you do sign up, make sure you get in the Discord. There's nothing better than the Discord. We also have an Underdog promo code. It's best ball season over here. Snyder's been on some videos with Simon. They also had a video with Josh Larkey, a special guest. The promo code is RUNPEER, gets you $100 matching deposit from Underdog. Let's get into the plays of the day. Going to go with myself first because I know who it is. I can't risk it being taken. My boy, Tyrone Taylor. Love that he's hitting in the 8 hole down there. He's 3K. I expect people to go to the top of the order. I think you can stack the bottom of the order with Milwaukee if you want to go that route. Mike Minor and Tyrone Taylor. Give me Tyrone Taylor in that matchup every single time. Mangone, go to you. The sweet Travis play of the day. Who do you got?
Oh, man. Go to DC. I'm not ready. I
have to
think
Mom's Basement play of the day. Who do you got?
Got to be a Brave for me. I'm going Adam Duvall, 3K, hitting 7th, always lower ownership. Braves are one of those lineups. I don't really care that much where they're hitting in the lineup. Obviously, maybe you lose out on an at-bat to end the game, but they can do damage from anywhere. Duvall has been on fire after a slow start to the year. And I think he gets one today against Kyle Hendricks in that Cubs bullpen.
I always prefer bottom of the order when it comes to GPPs because you always get them at fraction of the ownership just because people look at where they're batting in the order, which should not be the case. Mangone, I hope I bought you enough time. The sweet Travis play of the day. You got it?
You did. I wanted to make sure that I'm not giving some high-owned guy or something making a mistake, but I had a feeling he'd be low-owned. We're going with Patrick Wisdom, 3.5K at third base against Ian Anderson. Again, Anderson does have his struggles against righties. Wisdom, he is definitely a power bat, and if we get some good weather, everything turns our way. I think this Cubs could go off, so really like Patrick Wisdom. He will be my play of the day.
I love it. Duvall, Patrick Wisdom, Tyrone Taylor, the 3 plays of the day. We appreciate all of you hanging out with us on this Sunday, on this Father's Day. Hope all of you guys have a great Father's Day. Have a good time with family. Hope to see some RPS logos up top on this MLB slate. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on your way out. RPS Heater 25 gets you 25% off your first month. Head over to Run Pure Sports and check that out. That's going to do it for us, though. We'll be back tomorrow, as always. For DC, Mangone, Simon Behind the Sticks, I'm Titletown. Happy Father's Day. Good luck, everybody.